Alright, so it's been a little while. I've just haven't felt like making these videos. It's like, I've got other things to do and I'd rather do that. But yeah, in the meantime, I've definitely picked up some different machines, and it's like, well, this one's going to be going up for sale, and I thought before I sell it, I better grab the numbers on it. So I also have a C101, which was the metal body machine. This one is, well, it's Clean Obsessed branded, but it was originally produced under the perfect name as the C103. It is kind of a clone of the, plastic-bodied Electrolux, like the 2100s or the, I think they just call them the Classic these days. And interestingly, that's one thing the C101 does not have, is this rubber gasket around it. And I have taken this thing apart multiple times because it seems to me like it should be more powerful than what I'm getting from it. And I did learn that just like the plastic-bodied Electroluxes, you have to slide these bumpers off, or rather the piece that's under them, the plastic piece on them, in order to take it apart. And likewise, in similarity to the plastic-bodied Electrolux, it would usually have a after filter here, but it is shaped differently from the Electrolux branded ones. And yeah, but this one, unlike the C101, had a single stage motor, because the C101 used a two-stage motor that drew, I think it drew like 12 amps on its own. This one clearly draws less, and it uses a single stage Amtech motor, which I'll show you guys the specs on it, provided I still have those out. And I mean, really, the motor specs are pretty good. So I guess, I had a higher expectation from this machine than what I have been getting. Which is not to say, it's a bad machine, but I don't know. It's just, I had higher expectations for it. And, when I bought this machine, it was listed as having a hose. But they never showed the hose in any of the auction photos. Well, what showed up was one of the Electrolux braided hoses, and that thing had like no power at the end of its hose because it was so full of like holes. And it's like, really, dude? It's like, you sold me this machine for, well, I think it was like 130 or something like that, and you give me this crappy old hose. But fortunately, I had one with my Silverado, which I don't really use anymore either, so it's like, throw it together with a hose and, a bare floor nozzle and see if we can just sell it off. Oh yeah, this is different from the Lux plastic body because they had the kind of a ring lock system on those, as to where this still uses the same connection as the old metal body style machines. That was kind of interesting. I always assumed, they would have copied the hose connection too, but I suppose it's cheaper to just keep using the same one. Anyways, I think I've rambled on long enough, so I mean, let's get to the electrical portion, and then we'll move on to the airflow testing, all that stuff. So here's our ambient voltage. We'll get this turned on. And here we are with the hose attached. Turn the power nozzle on. Oh yes, before I forget, we never do get very good suction numbers from these inlets due to the holes in them, for the electrical connections. So just keep in mind, we're not going to get great ratings from there, suction-wise. I mean, obviously, with this cone in place, we kind of bypass that sealing, sealing the cone to the interior of that, so it kind of skips that out. Anyways. Alright, so we got the hose. God, that's blurry. There we go. Got the hose plugged into here. It is one of the Perfect branded ones. They have these little switches under here. I like the switches on here, but I do not like the suction bleeder on here because it falls open so easily. It's like that's something they need to work on. But this was a very nice little addition. Got some leakage around here. Alright, we got the wand and sheath attached, which is off of Lux. There we go. That little cutout there is causing some leakage. And we moved on to the power nozzle, and it's very similar to the Electrolux. I do know in newer versions they've moved on to a groove belt rather than having the traditional geared belt, which seems to quiet them down by quite a bit. I thought I had one of the grooved ones because it seemed quieter, but this is still a geared belt model. And it seems to me like these are a little bit leakier than the OEM PN5 or PN6. And I don't know, I've always felt that might be kind of intentional, because when they were originally produced with the C101, the C101 was a much stronger machine. And, you know, they boasted suction of like 130 inches of water lift. So I felt, you know, that it might be somewhat intentional that it leaks more. You know, it's speculation on my part, but it makes sense to me that they would do that, because, I mean, people used to complain at the vac shop all the time, you know, oh, this machine's so hard to push, and it's like, oh, whatever. But, yeah, I could see people not liking a machine because it stuck to the carpet a little too much, you know. Yeah, it's an okay machine, you know. I mean, I don't think it's really anything that spectacular. Because it's like, you know, it's definitely not as powerful as the 101 was. And it's like, it seems to be kind of on the same level as one of the older Luxes. So it's like, I don't know. I just don't really see a purpose in me keeping it around, you know.